top of the morning. Good morning, I'm Steve Izant. Welcome to the show. We have a great show this morning. We have 2 Rotary Ambassador Scholarship winners with us this morning. So don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with a great program. Good morning and welcome to Top of the Morning. We're at the top of the World Trade Center. We have a great show here for you this morning. With us here is the past Rotary President, Marianne Reichenberger. I'm going to get that correct. Rishi Barger, thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about the 2 Ambassador Scholars that we have on the show this morning.
Well, we have an outgoing Ambassador Scholar, Jasmine Hogan, who plays the harp, and she'll be studying in Beijing. And then we have an incoming scholar who's been here for a couple of months now. She's studying at the Johns Hopkins University, and she is already a pharmacist from Korea, and she's working in the public health school. Go to Rotary.org and actually find a Rotary Club in your area.
Sounds like a great organization. We're going to take a break. Don't touch that dial. It's great. I know you've done some international travel. Tell me about some of the places that you've been.
Well, one of my most exciting trips and most influential to this next year would be my trip which happened my first year at Peabody, which was to Singapore. And 6 grad students and myself traveled to Singapore to participate in a music festival. And we were there for 2 weeks, and that was really amazing.
Now, when you travel to Singapore, do you take that harp with you? Is that do you have to pay extra baggage, or do you have one already waiting for you there?
Well, there were a couple harps already there. It would be quite a hassle to take this harp internationally, especially with security rules as they are now.
I would think that it is. And you have a case for this harp? Does it have wheels? How do you get it from place A to place D?
Well, it has a canvas cover that you can put on it just to protect it from, say, when I took it from school to here. And then it has kind of a dolly that you use to wheel it around.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I loved your music. I think you're going to have a great career ahead of you. Welcome back to Top of the Morning. We just had a great time with Jasmine Hogan. We now have Ming Chow, or MJ, as a lot of her friends call her here. She's also an Ambassador Scholarship recipient for this year. Welcome to the program. We just had a wonderful segment, but this one is very different. MJ's field, pharmaceuticals, public health. First of all, tell us, you're an Ambassador Scholarship recipient. How did you first decide to apply for this? How did you find out about it?
Well, I found out about Rotary through a friend from an NGO. She was actually a Rotary member, and she was telling me about this ambassadorial scholarship program that I was interested in. I loved the fact that Rotary was committed to its communities and its philanthropy, so that's why I applied.
I mean, you mentioned an acronym, an MGO. What's an NGO?
Oh, it's a non-government organization, NGO.
Okay, all right. See, I just learned something this morning. Okay, so you submitted, you had to go through an interview process.
Yes.
Tell us about the interview process. Did they ask hard questions, or how did that work?
Well, in Korea, we only selected 2 applicants out of total of 120 possible applicants. It was a very harsh and hard interview process. We had to go through 2 interview processes to get selected, and our applicants were very talented in their own expertise areas, and it was a very hard process.
Do you know in general how many people applied and how many were selected?
For our district, about 100 people applied, and only 2 persons were selected.
Well, that's very impressive. So you've been awarded this scholarship. What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to study, and tell us more about what you're actually going to do.
So with this Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship Program, I actually applied to Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. My passion is in global health, helping developing countries' health systems and enabling them to enhance health outcomes. So I applied for the International Health Department, and right now I'm studying as a PhD program.
In the PhD program?
Yes.
What you're going to do next, or where you're going to go?
I hope to work in World Bank or World Health Organizations where I can empower other people in their health outcomes. So that would be my goal for the future.
MJ, thank you very much. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to the show. We have on this segment Carl Schneider. Carl's going to tell us a little bit more about the Rotary International Scholarship Program. Carl, what are some of the basics that people should know?
Thanks, Steve, and thanks for having us on this morning. The Rotary Ambassador Program began in 1947 after World War II because there were tensions following that World War. And so we decided if we sent our young people around the world, both directions, both incoming to the United States and Americans going abroad, there would be a sense of protection, that each one would feel that they had a care for the other country and that war would be a much more difficult thing. So we have sent out about 800 scholars per year in the last decade, several decades. So we have an enormous program.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
That's pretty impressive.
That comes from all of the Rotarians in the world. We have 1.2 million Rotarians, and they're all contributing roughly $100 a piece on the average. And so these grants are in the order of $25,000 to $30,000 a piece. And that sends them, nowadays, it sends them for room and board, but tuition is much more expensive, and so that's most of the cost that they have nowadays.
You mentioned that this is done internationally. Does the same thing work in reverse? That is, we're sending some students over to other countries. Do some countries send students over here, or does England send students to the Sudan, or how does that work that way?
Well, your last suggestion is what our greatest hope is. It's much more difficult to find students who actually go to the Sudan, but that's what we're looking for, is smaller, underdeveloped countries. So we have, they're going for an education, of course, and they're looking for universities as well as people they want to work with.
Well, thank you. Welcome back to Top of the Morning. On this segment, we're delighted to have Rachel Blair. Rachel also is with Rotary. She's going to tell us some of the basics and fundamentals about what this great organization does. So let me just give you the floor, Rachel, and tell us about Rotary.
Thank you so much, Steve. Let me start off by saying that you were actually viewing Dr. Carl Schneider, who is the District Scholarship Chair. So he's in charge of all the applications that come into our district for ambassadorial scholars and global grant scholars. But if you look at the wide picture of Rotary, Rotary goes beyond scholarships. We are actually responsible for the eradication of polio throughout the world. There are only 4 countries.
Is this a formal program?
This
that you
program
have? How
has
does it
been
work?
going on for a long time. It's one of the signature projects that Rotary International has. We started in the 1940s. There are 4 countries left in the world that have polio: India, Pakistan, Nigeria, and what's the last one? Afghanistan.
If someone watching this show right now was interested in something like that, how do they find out more about it? How do they apply? How does it work?
What I would recommend is first going to the Rotary International website. That's www.rotary.org. There you will see a vast array of information on all the foundation programs. There's polio, the Peace Fellow Program, Ambassadorial Scholars, which will now be called the Global Grant Scholars, and then we have something that's very near and dear to my heart, Global Grants and District Grants.
Thank you so much.